Welcome to Open for Business, the Gallatin Valley's only local business and consumer talk show featuring Tom Egelhoff, the Man Entrepreneur magazine radio called the leading authority in the United States for doing business in small town. Here he is, speaker, author, small business consultant, and Mrs. Egelhoff's favorite son, Tom Egelhoff.
All right, welcome everyone. Open for Business. We air every Saturday live from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain Time on AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston, Montana. If you'd like to be a part of the big broadcast, go to kmmsam.com and click Listen Live. The call-in number during the show, 406-522-TALK, 406-522-8255. I'm here, you're here. Let's get the show on the road. All right, thank you, Dan. Welcome back, everyone. 70 degrees outside. Right now, it's June 8th, rather. 70 degrees outside, 25 minutes before the top of the hour, and welcome you to the podcast portion of Open for Business every week. I share some tips and tricks I've learned over the years about advertising, marketing, promotion, and building strong, successful businesses. And I do these Open for Business podcasts live every Saturday between 11:30 and noon Mountain Time right here on AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston, and streaming on the worldwide net everywhere at kmmsam.com. You can also pick us up using the smartphone app Radio Pop. And if you missed any of the previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my website at smalltownmarketing.com. That's smalltownmarketing.com. Just go about halfway down the homepage on the left, and you'll find a link to the podcast page so you can catch up on any of my podcasts that you might have missed. Today, I want to cover two topics that usually go hand in hand. The first is how to build a strong small town brand name, and the second is how to do a feasibility study. So let's start by building your brand name. Small towns are peculiar animals. They're nothing like big cities. What works in New York City has no prayer in Livingston or Belgrade. So luckily, it's much easier to build a brand name quickly in a small town. Now, one of the charms about a small town is everyone knows each other. So this also might be a curse if you happen to be the local topic of gossip in your small town. But for this exercise, I'll focus on building your brand name in a small town or a rural community. So how do we do that? Well, the first place to start is how well are you already known in your town? Does your family have a history in your city? Any streets named after your great-grandfather? If you have a well-known family name, you should capitalize on that name for your business. Throckmorton Sheet Metal might be an easier name to build than Belgrade Sheet Metal. People will recognize the family name, and if it's a well-respected name in the community, that will go a long way to bringing customers through the door. So Belgrade Sheet Metal doesn't really say much about the owners or the principles of the business. So building that brand name will be a little more challenging, may take a little longer, and might take a bigger investment. So think Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, they all spent major bucks to make their names household words. So let's talk about how to build your brand name from scratch. So let's assume you're new in town, you have no recognizable name to build on. The first and most critical thing you must do is establish your credibility. So small town customers are often suspicious of outsiders. Your first goal is growing your business to the break-even level as soon as possible. Every day you're open and you fail to reach that break-even point is one more day you risk owning a failing business. So you need to build a strong customer base as soon as possible. Now, there are a couple ways to do this quickly. One way is testimonials from satisfied customers that you do have. Make sure you follow up with every sale you possibly can. I know this isn't possible with every business, but if you can, do it. Another is advertising well-known products or services that you offer. The products will open the door for you. After that, it's up to you to build a relationship with each customer. So here's a sales tip. Always, always, always call customers by name as soon as you know it. Either introduce yourself or get their name off the check or credit card or whatever. Dale Carnegie says the sweetest sound any person can hear is the sound of their own name. So your startup business is not going to be flush with cash at the beginning. So whatever advertising you do has to pay off. Your advertising is a great place to use testimonials, so be sure to get permission from the customer before you do this, or just use initials initials to protect their anonymity, but always use photos if possible. People always look at pictures of people to see if they know who the person is. Showcase your staff in your advertising. All your advertising should have a family resemblance, meaning that whether they see it online, see it in social media, newspapers, or TV, the ads should all look alike. Colors, typefaces, phrasing. People start feeling comfortable with your business look. You slowly begin to grow on them. And my advertising rules for building your small town brand name, most of you who are fans of the podcast or of the show know my 2 rules of advertising. First rule, when emotion and logic come in conflict, emotion always wins. You solve customer problems, and your advertising should address that. You are not selling a product or service. You are solving a problem for your customer. All the product features in the world are worth nothing unless they benefit the customer in some way. A tire ad doesn't make me buy a tire, but a flat tire on my car will. Second, never ever advertise anywhere unless there is at least a 75% expectation that the ad will produce more revenue than it costs. Advertising must always be an investment. It can never, ever be an expense. There is nothing in the business world more valuable than a strong, respected business name. One last important tip: copyright your business name. There's nothing worse than going to all the time and expense of building a credible name and someone else comes along and starts using it. It's not an expensive process, so check with your local attorney. This is even more critical if you're going to expand to online sales or do business in multiple states. The more popular you become, the more people are going to come after you. So a strong name is worth its weight in gold, so build a good one. You've chosen your business name and you have a plan to build your brand. Now let's talk about the small business feasibility study and let's see if your idea will work and be profitable. So starting a small business in a small town is much different from a big city simply because of the sheer numbers in big cities. You're allowed to make a lot more mistakes in your business than you can with a small town. For example, let's suppose you have a passion for Oriental rugs. You are a legitimate expert on these rugs and want to open a shop to sell them. Well, in a large city, there may be enough customers in your selling area to make the store profitable. In a small town, however, there may not be enough to make it work. So how do you know if your business idea will work? Where do you start? Well, starting point, let's look at you. First thing you'll need to do is make your dream happen is to do a feasibility study and see if your business will work. If you haven't done a business plan yet, that's the place to start. You can get free assistance in developing a business and marketing plan from your local SCORE office or the Small Business Development Center. So to find your nearest SCORE office, go to score.org. And for the nearest Small Business Development Center office, go to sba.gov. That's the Small Business Administration. So score.org, score.org, or sba.gov. And both sites have sample business plans, free tutorials, all the information you need on how to at least get a business plan underway. Now, as part of the executive summary in your business plan, and again, in the marketing section, you're going to answer some questions. So here are some of the questions you're going to need to answer. Are you really qualified to do this kind of business? Do you or someone else in the business have the expertise to make it successful? Do you know what it's going to take to own and run your own business? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a people person? Some of us love what we do, but we have great difficulty in talking to others about it. In a small business or in a small town business, you're going to have to be able to sell. Now, before you stop listening right now because of your fears of selling, let me define the kind of selling you have to do. Have you ever recommended a movie to a friend? That is a basic form of selling. You might ask your friends what kind of movie they enjoy. You would tell them why you like the movie, the stars, the storyline, and how much you enjoyed it. If you can do that, guess what? You can sell. Next, we need to know how you compare with your competition. So in order for any business to succeed, several pieces have to fall into place. You must make enough sales that produce enough profit to pay all your expenses. You got to make a profit and pay you a living wage every month. But one of the first things to look for here is who else is doing what you're doing. And this is sometimes called the competitive analysis. Comparative competitive analysis. Is there a perception that your competitors are good at what they do? Notice I didn't ask, are they good at it? I asked, is there a perception in the customer's mind, they're good at it. So the two questions are vastly different. So if you compare a competitor to your business, the competitor may come up short in your eyes. The reason is that you're only looking at features of each business. I deliver, they deliver, so both businesses are equal. Well, that's great, but customers don't buy features, they buy benefits. Customers buy based on emotion. So as a result, an evaluation like the one described above of the competition based on the features of both businesses may not be accurate. Here's why. If both businesses are equal, what benefit is there for the customer to change and do business with you? An older business is always going to have a small advantage over a new one. An older business has a track record, a new business does not. So a new business must create its own perception of how it will fill existing customer needs to the customer's perceived benefit. Now, is there a market for your business? There are only two ways I know of to get customers. So you create them from people who were never customers before, or you steal them from your competitors. So an example of creating a new customer might be a son or daughter turning 16. They get a driver's license. Now they're a gasoline customer. They're a car wash customer. They're a tire customer. They're a mechanic's customer. And the second way, of course, is to take them away from your competition. Every day, someone has an unhappy experience with a business and they change to the competition. So let me show you some ways you can determine which category your business might fit into. So let's talk about a target market analysis. You won't have a business without customers, so you must identify the customers most likely to want your products or services and how to reach them. So what's their age, their occupation, their marital status, their income? What TV shows do they watch? What newspapers do they read? Where can you put your message where they are most likely to see it and react to it? The more accurately you can define your ideal customer, the easier it is to select the most economical ways to reach them. Now, you also want to consider a sales and market share analysis. How much of the market do they have? How much do you need to be profitable? So you're going to create new customers or steal them from your competitors, one of the two. So you're going to have to analyze how much of the market you can successfully achieve. Product awareness and attitudes. Do people need to be educated on the use of your product? Do new buyers have to be educated when they buy a computer? How about a smartphone or a tablet? Are they concerned that the product might be dangerous or harmful? Purchase rates and buying habits. Is your product or service seasonal? Obviously, in Bozeman, ski businesses make their money in the winter. Bicycle shops thrive in the summer. So when do people want your product or service? Can you do it financially? As I mentioned earlier, the business must produce income to survive. The best advice I could possibly give you in starting a business is to sit down with an experienced accountant and have them help you design a financial plan. As a self-defense plan, take a QuickBooks class. Where and how you handle money can make the difference between success and failure for many new businesses. You may say, well, I'm just a home-based business and won't make a lot of money for a while. Well, that might be true, but at least have the accountant set up the tax categories for you. You're going to have to pay taxes on any income produced in your business. And also the IRS is going to look at you. Are you a legitimate business or are you a hobby? If you're a hobby, you're not going to be able to deduct business expenses. So you have to know the ins and outs of setting your business up as a business. So your accountant can be of assistance in preparing the financials for your business plan. You may feel you don't need a business plan because you aren't going to run down to the bank and get a loan. Well, the reason for a business plan is to keep your business goals on track. So what do you have to do to break even? Well, how much business will you have to do to make your business a success? That would be a break-even analysis. And you can check out my website for how to do a break-even analysis or do a search online for it. There are many formulas available. You can go to my website at smalltownmarketing.com, go to the site map, and just do a quick search for break-even analysis. Final word on feasibility studies. There are common mistakes often made by new business startups. Mistake number one, they underestimate the amount of startup costs needed for inventory or unexpected expenses. There is always something that was overlooked in the planning. This is where the value of sitting down and doing a business plan yourself really pays off. Mistake number two, not having a business plan and marketing plan to refer to when making tough decisions. Sometimes a business must be altered even before the doors open. Your decisions now could affect your business as far as 5 to 10 years down the road. So expanding too fast. You've not developed lines of credit or sufficient reserves to handle substantial business increases. So it's usually always better to grow slow and steady than to grow too fast. Last but not least, look for similar businesses in towns of your size and makeup. If you're convinced it will work, look one more time and then go for it. And that's this week's podcast. So I do these Open for Business podcasts live every Saturday between 11:30 and noon Mountain Time, right here on AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston, and streaming on the World Wide Web everywhere at KMMSAM.com. You can also pick us up using the smartphone app Radio Pup. And if you missed any of my previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my website at smalltownmarketing.com. Just go about halfway down the home page on the left, and you'll find the link to the podcast page so you can catch up on any of my podcasts that you might have missed.